I still remember the way the restaurant lights shimmered off the water glasses that night. Everything felt perfect except for the empty chair across from me. I had checked my phone so many times that the battery had dropped below 20%. Every time the door opened, my heart jumped. And every time, it wasn't her. After 40 minutes of waiting, I finally got the text. "Sorry, I can't do this." That was it. No explanation, no call, just 6 words that felt heavier than the steak knife resting beside my plate. Before we begin, if you love real stories about kindness, second chances, and unexpected connection, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Welcome to your channel Nay, where we share stories that remind us how powerful a small act of kindness can be. Now, let me tell you what happened next. It was a Friday night in Chicago, the kind where the city feels alive and full of possibility. I had spent all week looking forward to this date. Her name was Emily. We'd met through a mutual friend, and after weeks of texting and late-night phone calls, we finally planned to meet in person. I had even bought a new shirt, navy blue, ironed twice. When the waiter came back to refill my water, he gave me that look, the polite, sympathetic one. "Would you like a few more minutes?" he asked gently. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just a few," but I already knew. When the text came through, I stared at it, hoping there was more. Maybe another message explaining why, maybe a joke, maybe a just kidding. Nothing. I felt embarrassed. Not just disappointed, but exposed. The couple at the table beside me had clearly noticed I was alone. I imagined what they were thinking. Poor guy. Got stood up. I swallowed hard and reached for my wallet, ready to pay for the untouched dinner and walk out before anyone else noticed. That's when I heard her voice. "Well," she said with a light laugh, "guess I'm your date now." I looked up, confused. The woman sitting at the table next to me had turned in her chair. She looked to be in her early 50s, with short silver blonde hair and kind eyes that seemed to smile even before her lips did. She wore a simple green dress and a denim jacket. Nothing fancy. But there was something steady and warm about her. I blinked. "I'm sorry?" She tilted her head toward the empty chair across from me. "You've been sitting there staring at that door like it owes you money. I'm guessing she's not coming." I felt my face heat up. "Yeah. Something like that." Her husband, who had been sitting across from her, chuckled softly. "Honey." She waved him off with a grin. "What?" "The poor guy's been through enough." Then she looked back at me. "You don't deserve to eat alone tonight. We're celebrating our 30-year anniversary. Join us." I stared at them. "Oh, I couldn't." "You could," she interrupted kindly. "And you should." There was no pity in her voice, just simple human warmth. Something in me wanted to refuse out of pride. But another part, the tired, embarrassed, hurt part, just wanted not to feel alone. So I picked up my plate and moved to their table. Her name was Linda. Her husband was Mark. They had met in college, she told me, when she spilled coffee on his notes in the library. "Best accident of my life," Mark said, smiling at her like it had happened yesterday. At first I felt awkward, like I was intruding on something sacred. But Linda made it easy. She asked me about my job, my family, my hobbies. She listened, really listened, like my answers mattered. When I told them about Emily and how excited I'd been, I expected sympathy. Instead, Linda leaned forward and said, "Let me tell you something. If someone can walk away from you that easily, they're not your person. The right one shows up." Mark nodded, "And sometimes the wrong one not showing up is the best gift you didn't know you needed." I laughed for the first time that night. The food tasted better at their table. Maybe it was the company. Maybe it was the way they made space for me without making me feel small. Halfway through dinner, Linda raised her glass. "To unexpected company," she said. We clinked glasses. As the night went on, they shared stories about their marriage, the good and the hard. They talked about losing jobs, raising kids, fighting over silly things, forgiving each other, and choosing each other again and again. "It's not about perfection," Linda said. "It's about kindness every single day." That word stuck with me. Kindness. It wasn't grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It was inviting a stranger to your anniversary dinner because he looked like he needed it. It was choosing patience instead of pride. It was seeing someone's quiet pain and deciding not to ignore it. When the bill came, I reached for it quickly. "Please, at least let me pay for my meal." Linda shook her head firmly. "Absolutely not." "But it's our anniversary," she said with a wink. "Let us celebrate by doing something kind." Mark added, "Someday you'll get the chance to do this for someone else." I didn't argue again. As we walked out of the restaurant, the city air felt different, lighter. The sting of being stood up had faded into something softer. Before we parted ways, Linda hugged me. Not a quick, awkward hug, but a real one. "You're going to be okay," she said quietly. "Don't let one person's decision make you question your worth. I nodded, unable to find the right words. That night, I drove home thinking about how close I had been to leaving angry and embarrassed. If I had rushed out, I would have missed one of the most meaningful conversations of my life. Weeks passed. Emily never reached out again. And honestly, I stopped waiting. Instead, I started paying more attention to the people around me. The cashier who looked exhausted. The coworker who always ate lunch alone. The older neighbor who struggled with her groceries. I remembered what Mark had said, someday you'll get the chance to do this for someone else. That chance came sooner than I expected. About 2 months later, I was at a coffee shop on a rainy afternoon. The place was packed, and every table was full, except one seat at mine. A young woman walked in, scanning the room with that familiar look of hope and disappointment. She clutched her laptop and hesitated near the door. Without overthinking it, I raised my hand. "Hey, you can sit here if you'd like." She smiled, relieved. "Thank you. I didn't think I'd find a spot." We made small talk at first. Then she admitted she had just moved to the city and didn't know anyone yet. She felt lonely. I understood that feeling more than she knew. So I stayed. I listened. I shared a few stories of my own, yes, even the one about being stood up. She laughed. "Wow, that's terrible." "Actually," I said, "it turned out pretty great." We ended up talking for 2 hours. As we packed up to leave, she said, "Thanks for not letting me sit alone." And in that moment, I felt it, the quiet echo of Linda's kindness flowing forward. It wasn't about romance. It wasn't about fixing someone's life. It was about showing up. About choosing to see someone and say, "You matter." I never saw Linda and Mark again. But I think about them often, about how one simple invitation changed the direction of my night, and maybe even my outlook. Sometimes we think kindness has to be big to count. A huge donation, a dramatic rescue, a life-altering speech. But sometimes, kindness is just sliding your chair over and saying, "Guess I'm your date now." It's noticing the empty seat and deciding to fill it. It's understanding that we're all, in some way, waiting at a table, hoping someone shows up. That night in Chicago, I thought I had been rejected. I thought I had lost something. But what I really gained was a reminder that even in moments of embarrassment and hurt, there is room for grace. So if you ever see someone sitting alone at a restaurant, in a classroom, at church, at work, don't underestimate the power of walking over and saying hello. You never know what kind of story you might step into, and you never know how far your kindness might travel. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists. Leave a comment about a time someone showed up for you unexpectedly. And don't forget to subscribe to your channel now for more stories that inspire us to be a little better, a little braver, and a lot kinder. Because sometimes the best dates are the ones you never planned, and sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change everything.